Okay, and we're live. We're actually live. Sorry for the wait. Anyone who's watching.
Nope.
No sorries. Must be perfect. Tonight
No,
we
I
have.
said yeah.
Sorry for the wait. Tonight we have. We're actually live. Sorry for the wait.
Shit.
Anyone who's watching.
Nope.
I should really get into the habit of turning off all those tabs. They use Restream, so I have to check all my, you know, stream information. Yeah, so tonight we have Andrew and Brian, as well as well-known community member Hellkrai. He calls himself the lore master, but he'll have to prove himself tonight.
Well, that's the funny thing is I wasn't the first person to say that, and then I just thought it was really funny.
To be fair, you'd have a fair bit to say about this game, so on more than one occasion. So yeah, it's gonna be kind of a chill stream tonight, just hanging out, playing through the new stuff. So come on, hang out. And hopefully we'll get through this game next few weeks.
I think you can do it. It's not that long.
Oh shit. I forgot I leveled up already. Now I can go, I think, talk to... Wait, why did he go left? Game, why? Alright. Pretty sure I have to talk to... Go home when finished. Alright. So we should be able to get to the sewers tonight. I'm pretty sure.
Should be.
Probably get through the sewers.
Oh.
I don't know about you, but I think you can see my pal.
So we've been kind of just skipping a lot of this earlier game text.
How's how are you feeling about the game now?
With the
You know,
new mechanics
The
and
new
everything.
update, yeah.
I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. I feel like it moves a lot smoother. And I feel like
It's good to hear.
combat's a lot quicker, which is nice.
Hey, Michael. Someone sent.
I definitely felt like Alex's main attack minigame was a little too long.
So what do you think? Yeah.
But them correcting things like that, I think, has really helped this game. Of course, it's just.
I'm
one
very happy to hear that.
I'm
It's
glad
Alex.
to give it to you.
Some kid sent it. Yeah.
So does like Alex have Vel's number memorized, or did he write it down?
Alex is the type of person to absolutely have it memorized.
And he's kind of
I guess you have no choice, right?
a little bit
The
of a
first
creeper to
girl's
start out,
number
right?
he's gotten in 26 years, and he's like, okay, I have to memorize.
And then on the bus, he's like asking if she's Korean and stuff. It's pretty funny.
If I had
Very
to guess,
inquisitive.
phone number is probably a series of numbers that Alex knows and is very fond of. Probably have some significance.
5 309.
Yeah.
See, every time you say something like that, I keep thinking it's like some kind of hint.
No, I don't give hints anymore. I'm done with that.
No more damn hints.
That lifestyle's behind me. It's a younger man's game.
Oh,
Yeah, now he just says it.
Now I just say it. I'm like, fuck it.
Like this
I don't
is
believe in
exactly,
subtext anymore.
This is exactly how we get to the third ending, guys. I would not count on this playthrough getting us there, by the way. Just if you're watching and expecting that, no, probably not. If it happens, it'll be a total accident. And I'm assuming that requires some backtracking and pretty specific stuff. So
Okay.
maybe the one after this.
That's
Probably best not to shoot for anything like that first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just here for the new
Covering
stuff.
it along the
you
way.
always call your. No.
I've never noticed how much the the background, the hills and mountains.
When we sat on the bus with Bella and began to talk, it felt
How
as
much
if
they
she was a
what?
different person.
How they are really. You never really think about them. That how close Alex lives to mountains.
We were just leaving Frankton.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
you see it on the world map, but since you're always looking down at it, you never really have that perspective.
The organization she was going to, the police have no lead.
Yeah, that's one thing I miss about the original camera setups we were doing, where they were more like fixed camera stuff, like Final Fantasy VII or 8 or 9.
Right.
Maybe it'd be best
Because it let us show things from different perspectives, which was always fun.
None of the other girls around here.
Stop.
You know what? When I was when I was debating on
I'm not surprised.
kind of playing some
I'll check through
some
more
music from the
newspapers, though,
soundtrack
see
while
if
we
there are
were,
any leads.
getting our stuff set up, I was listening to Frankton, and you can hear it better in the headphones. And I was just like, wow, this. I don't know if it was on purpose. This sounds a lot like a Rhythm Heaven song or something.
No, I mean I hadn't played Rhythm Heaven until I worked on Starstruck. I had never even heard of it before.
It's a cool game.
I was vaguely aware that the game existed, but
No need to cross anymore.
it definitely wasn't anything. I mean, I was just trying to do like a sort of like Japanese disco funk thing that was like super popular at the time. Like there were like, as soon as that one song, what was the Japanese song that became like the theme song?
Plastic Love.
Yeah, Plastic Love. Like once I discovered that, I spent a lot of time just listening to instrumental stuff from that same era from like funk artists, and that's where like the sound of that track comes from.
Yeah, Future Funk was stupid and popular in 2015.
Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly like the right name for it, I don't think. But I'm not going to go on.
Yeah.
That's a
The
new one for
problem
me.
people talk about music genres.
Yeah. Music genres are whack.
They're so
kind of all over the place.
Like I was listening to a review of the new Weezer album, and someone kept like saying that it had like Bach-like harmonies. I'm like, what are you even talking about? You can't just use words like that. And like, it's very Baroque in the arranging. And I'm like, if you say so, buddy.
Whatever that means.
Ouch.
Did this guy
Yeah.
tell you where to meet him specifically?
You
Well,
said
I
there's a
heard
new
Volume.
Weezer album?
Yeah, a new Weezer album came out on Friday.
Find the
Oh,
nearest
shit.
person and ask them. Just be
I
direct.
kind of
Alex. They won't
forgot
lie.
about them, to be
Well,
honest.
maybe they won't.
okay, fair
They're
enough.
There's
super
a couple
Let's
songs
give
I
it a
like.
try.
Sorry, go ahead.
Like Weezer has, their first two albums are amazing. Pinkerton and Blue Album are, of course, they're really important albums. They're, especially for the '90s era, they do so much. Like you would never have like Panic at the Disco and Fall Out Boy if you didn't have Pinkerton. Like you don't have emo music without that. You would get there. There'd be a similar sound, but the way that Rivers Cuomo sang on Pinkerton inspired a lot of people to sing badly, and it's a really great thing that he did it, because it's just such a good sound.
Okay. That was new.
Oh, the Vine Drop.
Yeah, I did not
If
see
you
that coming.
if you haven't encountered it, usually it gives you a prompt that tells you how to do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think you.
Maybe I accidentally skipped through it. But
I don't remember if it happened last time. You were streaming or not?
no, it didn't happen last time. The only thing that happened last time was when I was fighting Vela. There's the runaway thing, and
Yeah.
the one you can't run away from.
Reverse bass drop.
That was cool though. I'm glad to see more little mini games like that.
Yeah, it's always cool when you can just throw something into a battle that makes it unique. Just gives it like a little bit more charm.
Yeah, that's really nice. I like that.
That was something like I thought about writing in my guide about like, hey, this is kind of the time you want to aim for, but I think that's only works for me because usually I wait until like the second it actually punches me.
Oh, did I not?
I think
I might not have equipped him with his new.
Yeah, I think as soon as it starts punching, you can start hitting it back.
Yeah,
It's a pretty generous margin.
especially on easy mode.
Yeah.
I love these.
Obviously, when the game starts getting faster, it becomes a little harder.
Let's try his. Should kill him.
In case people didn't notice, it gets harder, like, when the enemy level is higher.
Nice. That was a near perfect beatdown, if I do say so myself. Didn't think I still had the button mashing in me.
It's like riding a bike.
Sometimes until your joints get all fucked up and you get all old and slow. That's been my reality the last couple of years. Like, holy crap, I'm not as good at this video game thing as I was. Alright. Also, I like how the hint says shake down the residence.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
I forget what all the hints say, mostly.
Yeah, we did those all, like, at the very end. Our publisher was like, hey, I keep forgetting where I'm supposed to go.
It was a good addition.
Yeah, oh, it definitely
Fun
was.
stuff with it too.
Yeah. It was definitely the right idea to add it.
It's helped this playthrough up, that's for sure.
Well, it's nice too, because if you come back from the game after having not played for a while, you can check it. Or if you just got confused about something, you can check it.
Right.
Yeah. There'll always be like, when I'm trying to test really specific things, I'll jump into a random save and then it's like, okay, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, good point. I need to see if I can use the time energy, actually. I haven't tried that yet. I can! That's been something I can't do on the PC for like the last few times I played, so I guess that was fixed.
Oh, the controller issue.
Yeah, like the triggers weren't mapping for some reason.
Yeah.
Oh, glad to hear that it's fixed now.
I haven't had that issue in a while.
A boat with legs says, oh, is JT blind to 1.5 stuff? That's awesome. Yeah, JT's completely blind to all of this. Only seeing little hints of the alpaca stuff too, which is cool.
Yeah, I know almost nothing about, you know, everything outside of like some of the base mechanics here, like the elements and stuff. So I'm looking forward to the alpaca because I want to see why he is Cloud. Why has he turned into Cloud? I saw that big ass sword.
Actually, he's Guts.
Oh yeah. Shit.
It is.
You know what's funny is I was actually gonna start reading Berserk last week.
I actually just started it last week after I finished the one volume of that zombie manga I was reading. It's great. It's really, really great. There's this beautiful hardcover edition that I got for Christmas. Super nice printing quality.
Of Berserk, you mean?
Yeah, Berserk.
Nice. Dude, I've been reading some quality manga last month or two. Like if you've never seen, or I guess read, Fire Punch or Chainsaw Man.
Oh, Chainsaw Man is cool.
Chainsaw Man's so good.
I've only read a little bit of it.
It starts off a little slow, but it gets really, really good. Like it's about so much more than just a guy made of chainsaws.
You had me at that.
A guy made of chainsaws?
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
It's pretty great. There's a lot of
Does
like.
anyone-
Go ahead, sorry.
Does anyone know when they're going to bring Golden Wind, the JoJo arc, the manga, to America? 'Cause I don't think you can get that arc yet.
I feel like you should be able to at this point.
Yeah, the freaking anime is out, right?
It's not on Amazon, and I did not see it in Barnes and Noble.
Maybe they just hate good JoJo's.
You know, Viz Media.
Well, with yeah, I guess that would be Viz, huh? Speaking of, that is the most infuriating series to try to get anybody who doesn't know that. How do I put this? To get any normie to try to watch. Because
Well, yeah, because everybody just talks about how they should watch JoJo's.
yeah, there's that, and we'll say there's some flamboyant looking characters in the show, and a lot of people see that and they just kind of like write it off as this real weird show, you know. And it's like, dude, it's actually really interesting.
Yeah, it's like you guys just don't know if it's up your alley. It's up everyone's alley. Just watch it.
It is up everyone's alley,
It's so good.
except for parts of part 3 anyway. The whole stand of the week thing kind of got boring after a while. I was so ready to see the end of that arc by the time we actually got to it.
Yeah, they only have the first 4 parts for some reason.
Really?
They're just sitting on money.
Yeah,
Or maybe
dude.
not.
I mean, I would buy it.
That's
I
true.
I really don't like. I mean, not to say that there aren't good fan translations out there, but I much prefer to own the actual book and
It's
turn
better
the page.
to. I like looking at a printed page. Call me old-fashioned, but
No, same. Same here.
Because the thing is, like, if I'm gonna read manga on my computer, it's gonna feel a lot more like work because I'm pretty much only at my computer to work.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny that you say that. I have a friend who, not to get too off topic, but I got a friend who pretty much just works on her computer, and she plays board games with us like every Friday. And so because she does that, I went ahead and got her a copy of Tabletop Simulator, just because I figured she'd enjoy it. She's like, yeah, I really want to play this with you. I just really don't want to play at my computer. So she got a she found a way to hook up her Steam to her TV basically and just play like from her couch. But it was for the same reason. It was like, well, you know, I work here all day. I don't want to just keep sitting here.
yeah, I totally get that. Some people don't get that when I say that about computers. I'm like, it's like I could play games on my computer, or I could play them, you know, on a couch on my PlayStation.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. It's pretty similar for me, you know, really up until recently. You couldn't get me to do anything on my feet after work for a while there. But I don't know, something clicked this year. I'm just a lot more motivated. I've been to the gym 2 times in 2 weeks. Think
Oh
I could
wow, a
have
real
this.
gym.
A real gym. I got that dodge down.
Sorry, I'm back. Hopefully, no one started talking to me because I just disappeared.
No, you're good.
Okay, cool.
Was it a boat with legs here last time? I think they were.
Don't remember who was here last time.
I know Robin was here, and a couple of someone named like Super RPG something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Actually had some good comments in chat last time.
Yeah. Well, the 7 of you who are watching, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them.
By all means. These guys get a lot of questions. Used to it by now. Speaking of which, that was kind of funny to find out, Andrew, that you weren't really like how do I put this? Like you've done a good job presenting yourself as like a talking guy for Ackk. PR guy, I guess is what you'd say. I don't know.
Oh, but it was funny that which part was
Yeah.
funny?
It's just it was funny to learn that you're more introverted, you know.
Yeah,
just kinda had to come into that.
I really, really, really hated it. You know, but the thing was, like, I suffered the least doing it, so it just kind of became my job by default.
You came
mean-
into it pretty well.
I'm glad to hear that.
That was something I was super nervous about, just trying to start up that podcast, especially given
check
who
the
I was
chat,
trying
Andrew.
to talk to. Do what?
Oh, I
Oh.
see. Hey, 6 pounds of shrimp. How you doing?
First stream here, but it's great seeing the gang here. Yeah, it's great being with everybody. It's wonderful having you guys watch. I hope you enjoy it. I really do. But that was definitely one thing that really kind of racked my nerves doing the podcast. I was just
I mean-
getting these game devs and stuff on and trying to be interesting,
think-
you know.
It's a little easier with voice. Like for me, it's like I don't really like being on camera. Like, and I made the mistake of like one time watching, reading comments on one interview I did because I was excited that I got to do the interview with the particular person, and like the top comment had like 11 likes, and it was like, "Why is this guy's eyes always moving around? Is he on drugs?" And I'm like, "Oh, come on."
Yeah.
Oh,
People
Comments
can
such
be
things,
really mean in the comment sections. So.
Oh yeah, people are brutal. So like the voice thing, I don't care as much because I sound how I sound, but like I have control over how I stand and over my physical appearance, but over my voice, I've got less of that. So judge it all you want, I don't care.
I remember the first time we talked. It was
Darn you for having a voice,
2019.
Andrew.
Jeez, yeah, darn your voice. Like for half a
Yeah.
second, I was like, "This guy sounds like Rory." Like,
Yeah,
got
well,
me comment.
I love Yuri of Wynn's voice, so I don't think I sound like him, but
It's just a little bit. He's a lot more high pitched than you are, actually. Speaking of which, is he still doing YouTube videos?
Yeah.
Okay. I
He
swear I
took a
subscribed
break.
to him.
I think he took a break because his cat died.
Oh, that
that
sucks.
sucks.
That sucks.
I hate to hear that. Yeah, he's kind of on and off with his uploads. Crap, those speed down.
Yeah. I mean, that was true beforehand anyway.
Right. Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, I was hoping I
This
could get
is the
him
cult
on.
classic game that's been remastered 3 times by 6 different companies and went platinum. I don't believe so. I think that's a different game.
I think it will be one day, but not now. In 3,000 years, when irony has gotten so deep.
Well, you've got what is it? About 50 years? Because that's when it
Valhalla.
takes place in Valhalla. Yeah.
I don't even know what you would do for like a remake of this game.
Yeah, I was about
visually.
to ask, how would you remaster this?
If I were to remaster, I'd probably make everyone like really round, like Wind Waker HD, like for no good reason.
You know, there's one of them would be a demake where they have them.
That actually might be a better approach.
I would
That'd
like
be
to see
cool.
something like that. That'd be kind of cool, actually.
RPG Maker version.
But like an official demake, you know? There has been something like that. I just can't think of what it was.
There's been a few games that have done stuff like that. Like Bayonetta released an 8-bit version, and then like you have the Bloodstained series.
True.
Where
Oh,
we entered.
To answer the question in chat, I don't think we're interested in localizing anywhere else at the moment. We're kind of like really at the end of our rope at the moment with the last bit of finishes we're doing, and then it's a lot to support 3 languages, and to do an additional language now with all the dialogue we have for 1.5, it would probably make us continue working on this game for a lot longer than we can probably afford to do. So I don't really see us doing any other localizations.
What does Ackk stand for?
It stands for nothing.
It's a barcode.
Well,
Nah, that's a kid. I'm just kidding.
I'm sure you guys stand for a lot of things.
I mean, freedom, hope. What doesn't it stand for?
Wasn't it just both of you just hit 2 keys on a keyboard and that was it? That was the name.
Something like that.
Pretty much.
So you know how most bands make their names apparently.
I mean, like, look, it's not the name I'd pick now, but we're kind
Yeah,
of stuck.
now you would.
Dude,
Yeah.
I kind of like it. I'll be honest, but that's just me.
What is it? The Wu-Tang name generator.
Ackk, freedom, hope, or something or other. Thanks for the answer. Good luck. Can't wait for the updates to release on PS4.
Yeah, hopefully 2 more weeks, and then the updates will be out on PS4 and Switch.
Yeah, just trying to thoroughly test everything so that we don't have to do it twice.
Yeah.
I feel bad.
Well, why do you feel bad?
What did you
Sometimes I just say stupid things.
I missed it. What was it?
Did you type something?
As in the YiiK scored.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
How is the YiiK chord these days?
Well, you know, they say
Yicky.
things.
Okay. I can give somebody 2 strength here. I'll probably do Michael, I guess. Maybe Vela. Vela's pretty strong, so let's make her stronger.
Yeah, you want to give Vela buffs.
I think she gets even better with the next Keytar. At least that's how it was with the old mini games. Like that's pretty much the last time I really played this game was 1.2 or whatever it was.
I guess so.
Let's give
Oh,
it
so
worst
like
comes to
basically the
worst,
last time we
it's
updated it before this one.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Well, I'm confident in saying that it's much better now.
I would agree,
Hey.
honestly.
Lost in the void.
So,
Yeah, I think
Hey, it's Vince.
I'm Rory.
What's up? Go ahead.
Hey, Vin.
Probably figured that much
Hey,
out.
everyone.
Well, here. Hell yeah.
What we did change, and obviously, like I would love to have
If not,
you know
what
spent
do?
another 6
Anyway,
months
what
just
do you
like
make?
I'm Alex.
doing a lot more to
No, I
it,
mean,
but
on your screen,
there kind of comes a
that's
certain
not
point
all,
where
that'll be more beneficial.
you know like people want the physical version.
Oh,
We can't put the physical version out until we're done with all the most important patches. So we kind of had to pick a spot where we were like, we're gonna stop with gameplay and then you know just give ourselves a few months to just do purely new content.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, like in the YiiK chord, people are always asking for like, you know, add back in old cut content or do this and like all that stuff sounds awesome. I'd love to do all of it, but the stuff that we're doing for 1.5, I think people are going to be really surprised by how much we've done and just what a unique experience it actually is. That I think that ultimately making this new content is going to make people a lot happier than just being able to visit some old thing that was taken out because it sucked.
Right,
yeah.
Also like to say hi to Void, and if I'm missing anybody else, I think that's Robin. Hey, Robin. And also, hey, there's 15 people watching.
Did your parents
That's
get the
really
police
cool.
involved?
No, my parents they aren't the types that
Nice.
I'm sure a couple of them are us, but still.
I mean, I'm not logged in, so does it only show logged in people?
No, it shows everybody, but it's fine.
Oh, okay,
no,
cool.
that wouldn't be okay.
I see. This is
Still, I mean, this
extremely
is
serious. A teenage girl
the
goes
best
missing
viewership
and
I've had
someone
in
needs
a
to
month,
be doing
so.
something about it.
Yeah,
Nice.
That's great.
My sister Carrie
Appreciate the
started
shout-outs.
acting
Well,
weird after that.
Let's make
She was
it
having
spicy.
troubles.
People ask us spicy questions in the stream chat, and then maybe we can get you more viewers.
Yeah, this is the time for
Spicy food is
questions.
more my thing, but alright.
So one day things get really weird. When I find
Acceptable
her in
levels
bed,
of spicy
she's
questions
holding some
are.
of her baby toys.
This is the
Stuff
time
that's
to
been
do it.
boxed up for years.
Yeah, we do reserve the
She
right
needed
to
them
defer
kids.
to our council.
Gifts for kids.
So,
She's been
interview-
7
Yeah,
months.
we'll
Our
have
S-
to, we'll have to
After
get
she
the
vanished,
lawyer.
I went around looking for her, and
to-
found
I
her
mean,
house.
my lawyer's always listening. I have my Alexa set up so they're just
Anyway,
constantly
the weird thing is,
eavesdropping.
one of the toys was left at an underpass, and I know that
You must
sounds
get
How'd you
hell
cut
of
your
a
hand while
paycheck.
cooking?
But then at a train
That's not good.
station, a woman was robbed.
Cut
and
my
the guy who
hand a
grabbed her
bit
purse
while
ran
cooking
into the
again,
tracks
so I
and got
can't
hit
exactly
by
work.
Not the train, but a cop car that
That
lost
sounds like
control
an
of
excuse not to go to
style.
work.
Nice. So Vince asked what my favorite track is on 1.5 soundtrack. The favorite one I wrote is probably an edit as decreed by the king and queen. The favorite one I didn't write is really, really hard because they're all so awesome. But if I'm being entirely honest, Original Sinners is probably
Yeah,
my favorite.
let me.
Not that the others aren't totally amazing, because of course they are. But Original Sinners really grabs me.
This game's got a really good soundtrack. Really good soundtrack. You guys did a really good job.
Did we catch any interesting YouTube videos on Y2K? We don't really watch YouTube videos about Y2K.
We've never watched one.
That's far too nerve-wracking.
I do want to
Yeah.
point
I
out.
have
Sorry.
I have an assistant who does watch them, and they like give me the general update. But I just stopped. I'm like, I don't really care. I'm like, unless I really need to know,
Yeah,
let me know. I know all the criticisms because I have them myself.
right. And it's also one of those, if you ever want to know what any of them say, you could just ask me.
Yeah, I have a pretty good idea from watching people in the YiiK Court discuss the various
Yeah.
essays. So I have a general idea.
I do want to point out this particular scene. It's really beautiful. Like this one really, I think it's in the trailer even. This is one of the scenes that really caught my eye.
Yeah,
So-
the classic
I'll just
screenshot.
back up here real
I
quick so
actually
people can see the Soul Survivor.
Me and Brian should take this opportunity to tell you the history of making Windtown.
Sure.
So one of the most difficult things about Y2K was we were doing a pretty
Real
robust
quick,
convention.
should I stick around here real quick just in case you want to point something out, or can I go?
Yeah, Brian, just hold the camera right here.
Okay.
So basically, we were doing this really robust convention circuit where essentially every like 4 to 6 months we had to take the game to a convention to show it off. And for the first like 2, we were able to show the first dungeon. There comes a certain point where press will no longer write about your demo if it's the same one, and people who go to the same conventions are disappointed to see that the game hasn't progressed. So we always tried to make sure we had something new to show off. This demo was put together for Brian. Do you remember which convention it was?
I think
it was PAX West. I think
must have been PAX West.
so. It was the first PAX West that we had ever gone to, and we didn't have any locations for the game besides the starting opening of the game, all of Frankton, and then sort of like some gray boxed areas. So we basically had about like 4 months to program everything we needed to like have proper battles with enemies that weren't in the beginning of the game, model new enemies, and create a new scenario. So we chose Windtown to do as our next one because it was thankfully sequentially correct. We didn't want to like jump really far into the game just to have a demo for it. Basically, like we had the script written for it, but we didn't have the scenario of what you actually do when you get here. So like we had all the voice acting recorded, but we had no plan for it. And we didn't want to make the sewer the demo. We wanted to actually try and make the town something that was fun, so that the town itself felt like a proper scenario and the sewer was a whole separate thing. So I came up with the idea that you're trying to figure out how to get to Rory's house and find out about the missing girl that was already written into the script by beating up the different townspeople. And then from there, Brian just went crazy making a bunch of fun NPCs for it. And Brian, do you remember anything else from that time period?
I'm trying to remember. This might be wrong. If I'm incorrect, let me know. I do remember we tried to get this demo specifically to run on the PlayStation at one point as like our first. So I'm wondering if this was a PlayStation Experience demo.
You're completely right. That's correct.
Yeah, and I remember there was a nightmare because it kept crashing. Like,
Oh yeah, I
and
remember.
I think it ended up being there was a bunch of like point lights that somebody had left in the scene that didn't need to be there.
That's right.
They were causing some kind of a memory issue.
Yeah, it was underneath the overpass.
Yeah.
So like
And
over here, I think. I want to say it's over here.
So once we had the demo all set up and we had the base gameplay, I'm like, this area looks cool, but it needs some sort of visual punch. It needs something to make it really stand out to the player. So I had the idea to have the entity loom over the scene. And then Brian had the idea to, change the color palette on the whole scene to give it a whole other atmosphere. And I remember Ian thinking I was joking when I was like, grab that entity 3D model and make it really big and stick it in the back of the scene. He's like, well, why would we do that? And he legitimately thought I was joking. But it wasn't until he saw it with the blue screen, with the blue color palette, that he accepted that it was a good idea.
It works. Yeah.
I also love it because it uses the asset from the factory hotel, the same kind of pyramid with the pyramid with the glowing in it.
Yeah, we wanted them to feel linked. Like we wanted it to feel like because when you go into the factory hotel, it's when the game first actually gets weird. Like it's quirky, but it gets very strange in the factory hotel. So we wanted to have some visual links between the different breaks in reality.
Yeah.
And
And that
also
that
the sky is
entity
just like
very
really good
interesting.
looking too. For
It's specific.
yeah, just this scene in particular, I just had to point it out, and I guess have you guys talk about it a little bit.
I mean, you know, now that thinking back on it, like Brian and I
It
worked
has a lot
like
to do with it. So
two
basically,
16-hour
I think
days,
we
and
all
we like
have a
we
set
we
number of
almost
sleep
slept at
times.
the
Very
office, one of
rarely
them, and then we're
leave
like,
our bodies
it's
at
too
that
weird
point.
because we worked out of like an old factory that we rented the top floor of, so it wasn't really accommodating for spending long hours there.
Right.
But it was definitely exhausting
What exactly happened to your Aurora?
making
Okay,
this
forget
part, but it
that.
turned out
I
I think
can't
it's one of the
speak
best
right
parts of the
now.
game, so
Let's
I
get to
think it
work.
was worth it in the end.
Answer some questions real quick. Will there
Alright,
be
that's a
any
lot of building
changes
up
to
here.
the? Yeah, I have to stop and do this. Will there be any changes to the amp and hair flip since they're both obstacle removers? It seems redundant.
I don't think there's going to be any changes planned as of now. I agree. It's unfortunate. It wasn't part of the original design, but things happened where they had to kind of be moved together. I do regret it,
Well, live and learn, right?
but I would rather give people new content than to fix that small issue.
Right.
Yeah.
How are you guys feeling about the way your NG Plus content is implemented, which I know nothing about? Are you worried that a lot of players are never going to see all this great new stuff you spent so much time working on?
No, because we're adding stuff to the main game as well, and once you see it, you're going to really want to see the resolution for it, and the plot resolution all happens in the new game plus.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be bored playing through it again if
Yeah,
our ideas work out the way that we want them to.
yeah, it's
I'll
we're
just
going
say that.
So I should play this a second time.
Going bold.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but wait for the 1.5 update to do it.
Okay. I think he builds on this with NG Plus seems like a very difficult thing to do well. In my opinion, very few games succeed in keeping things interesting enough to push a substantial amount of players to actually try it. The prospect of 1.5 expanding on Y2Ks definitely helps, but I still have my worries about the implementation of the new content. Well,
Well, I think no one really knows what the implementation is yet publicly, so I will say I don't want to over exaggerate it, but I'll say it has more in line with replaying Nier than it does replaying Y2K.
I was just gonna say, I mean, so far their implementation of new content, even in this update that wasn't supposed to have that much new content anyway, is proving that it's thought out. It's
right.
not just, something tacked on.
They've had a long time to think about it. Um, is the skybox a rotating bubble
It's
Um,
or rotating graphic or something?
in this case, I don't believe it's rotating. I think the shader has a texture that pans through it.
oh yeah, like the water thing.
Yeah.
Right, that makes sense. And last
Or,
question.
I don't remember if it's adding two
sorry.
textures together, but I think it's doing that, and it's scrolling one of them.
Where did the idea for the cheeseburger tree outside of Alex's house come from? I think we touched on this a little bit.
Oh, that's
last
actually
time,
pretty easy. The cheeseburger tree idea comes from the money tree idea.
right?
And the money tree idea comes from the fact that Alex treats money like it grows on trees.
And it would have if I didn't take all the money and all the cheeseburgers. So
I love that.
it happened while Andrew was gone last time because I never knew that about just leaving one.
Rory ran off on you.
Pretend he's making sense. That's what it says. It's hard to do.
God.
Run faster. See,
And I don't remember any of these little tutorial lines. I wrote them all, and I don't remember them.
They're all really good.
yeah, they're funny.
Seriously underrated.
I still liked the shake down the Windtown people.
I think at this point in development, I was like pretty loopy, and I'm just like, yeah, fuck it, that sounds funny. Let's do that.
Yeah, there's definitely some like hazy parts of development.
Yeah, well, where we were definitely doing things that were against our better judgment. Now, mind you, it's none of the stuff that people disliked about the game or thought was in poor taste. That was all decided very early on. But some of the other things was definitely at a point where we were really burnt out, and the only way to go forward was to just get weird.
I don't know. From the small situations you've mentioned like that, usually end up being some of the best parts of the game.
Yeah, I agree. And for the new 1.5 content, we've actually been we've been drawing a little bit on that, especially with the fact that we are pretty tired of working on the game, but we also really care about making it good. Or I should say, we really care about improving it. And we really want the physical version of the game to be something worth buying.
Right,
So we're making sure that it's I want all the stuff in 1.5 to be the best stuff in the game. I want it to just really just exceed everything we did.
Well, I think it's going to get hard to be better than Wendy.
I think just from what I've played here, and I guess what we're gonna see at the end of tonight. I mean, I haven't seen it, so I can't judge. But I think your goals will be realized. I know. I definitely want a copy. I definitely want that vinyl too.
Yeah, I'm excited about the vinyl. We've been trying for a really long time, because we had a vinyl that was being made, but it was canceled because of the controversy. So, I'm happy that it finally is coming around. It's something I've wanted for a really long time, and it was something that was a dream of mine since, we decided to make the main weapon in the game a record.
Yeah.
Which I really like stylistically, it's cool. I guess real quick,
I feel like it would slip out of my hand in real life if I tried to do that to someone.
You might be surprised. There are grooves in it after all. So I think when the alpaca boss comes around, I'm gonna just go ahead and let that play out. I mean, feel free to talk over it. I don't really care. It's just it's brand new content.
Totally. Yeah. I think we'll probably just remain quiet and let you react.
For those who don't know what's going on, I mean, is it really a spoiler? Like, should I say kind of what's going on here? They're watching, so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So right now, kind of the thing with Roy is, I don't think he's revealed exactly why she's missing, but his sister is missing, and later on you get a revelation as to why she's missing during that boss fight. And so it's gonna be like this pretty big deal cutscene, and from what I can see, like one of the few actual cutscenes in the game.
Yeah, that's true. It's definitely the most involved cutscene we've made for a game ever.
How did it feel to kind of flex your skills doing that?
It was hard because we're in such an old version of Unity, we don't really have a lot of proper animation tools, so a lot of it is just driven by simple scripts. So we were kind of held back a little bit, and once again there was time constraints. So I'm really happy with how it came out, given the very specific constraints we had. But I don't necessarily feel like we got to flex our muscle, is what I'm trying to say. I think we can do. I think if you think that's cool, one day you'll see something much cooler from us.
Good to hear. Our good friend Antoids is here. Doesn't he run a podcast? Or did run a podcast?
I don't know if they're still doing one, but they definitely did at one point.
They have a question. What's your favorite dinosaur?
The pterodactyl, because it has a silent P.
Don't lie, that definitely has to do with me. that was my old moniker, was Dactyl. I actually got that from playing Smash Brothers competitively. Not very well, but competitively.
I see Lost in the Void says, Andrew's been killing it with the new music, and Brian much the same with the new visuals. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Also, what's up, Oblivion?
Oh, I see. Vince asks about a cassette. Yeah, it's something that's been talked about. I would love to do a cassette of the 1.2 with the music that from the base game that didn't get on the vinyl. And what I'd really love is to print out the illustrated short story we did for the 1.25 soundtrack and pair that with the cassette. So you get this little book, that has the illustrations in it, and then the cassette as well. So, if the vinyl does well, it's something that we could probably convince someone to make for us.
My wallet quakes in fear, says Lost in the Void.
Yeah,
I could say the same if I don't get rich off of Dogecoin. I don't. I I highly doubt you're gonna get rich off of Dogecoin, but you know, you do you.
Well, I'm just gonna hold on to those coins personally.
I got my 70
Everyone else
bucks.
can do what they want, but
There was a brief moment where they were just about 7 cents, and my friend had pumped a couple $1,000s into it. And he sold exactly then. He had bought them for less than a penny.
he sold all of us out with it.
He did pretty well.
I have a friend that had
It's Brian Diamond
$7,000.
Hands, you know it. Yeah.
He had $7,000, and I'm pretty sure he missed his window to sell stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he has like $1,000 now.
Well, that's what he put in.
Oh, okay. Well, there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, because it was up a good bit there.
Yeah.
I put 70. Why was I going so slow? I had put in 70,
Look out for
and
number
it was
one.
up to like 135, and then it just plummeted back down the next day. Motherfucker. Dogecoin, the best center for pump and dump schemes.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. If not this one, it'll come around again.
What about GameStop coin?
There's a pretty good question to see in the chat. How sentient are the enemies? I
Oh,
think it's also fun to ask how sentient are your allies.
that's a good question.
Like really sentient, or like
God.
do you,
Well, so the thing is, Y2K actually runs a very advanced AI on the back end. So every single character, you're actually killing them. They have hopes and dreams, and you're literally torturing these different enemies. Like the samurai tortoises, like they wanted to go to college. They wanted to make something of themselves. But Master Splinter, I mean, their copyrighted thing that's not Master Splinter really wouldn't let them do that. So,
Master
you know,
Six.
they're about as sentient as you and I.
I am
Yeah, give
so
or
happy that this is like the new 3 dodge. I don't know if that's still in the game or not, but
I don't think it is. If there is, it's like one enemy, and we couldn't remove it for a reason. But
Yeah, I think it shows up a couple times. I remember it popping up with the kid with the gun.
oh, that's interesting.
Sheriff kid. I think I've seen it there, and I think it pops up with another one.
I didn't
I
this
don't
time
remember.
because I definitely fought that kid.
Okay.
But
Bella.
there's one part in 1.2 where was the goth chick boss, or the goth Cerberus boss, whatever you want to call that, starts the fight off with basically a one-hit kill of that, and all 4 party members have to go through it. And I just managed to keep like 1 or 2 alive. Hard. Why am I so bad at this?
Yeah, Rory's hanging in.
And an entire branch different. Could you specify what you mean by that?
Yeah, I don't know what that means either. Let's see. Wait, doesn't
You mean like
she
in
know
terms
what
of like
I'm-
Git and stuff like that, or
She does not yet. Someone's. Man, Roy's getting his ass kicked. Like
if the
he
answer
should.
is can you data mine for finding?
Oh, like story content leading to an all ending. Yeah, so the Y2K 1.5 story content is there are 2 new bosses, but the 2 new bosses
Bella.
introduce plot threads, because we can't just have bosses appear. They have to, they have to be as interesting as the Golden Alpaca scenario now. So, there's some stuff there, and there's resolution to those scenarios when you play 1.5, and there's a ton of surprises in the new one. It's going to be very different from playing Y2K through the normal way, but I don't want to give away too much. But I think that if you liked the Golden Alpaca stuff, you're going to really like what we're doing for the new content. And it is very much new content. It's not rehashing old ideas. It's new story scenarios, new voice acting. etc.
Do I should have a dollar? Yeah. Give me that cheeseburger or whatever. Top hat. Top hat does what? HP +3 defense. Sure. Hipster character gets the hipster hat. Wait a minute. Should be able to blow those rocks up, I think.
Yeah, I think you just walk up to it and.
Oh no, I had to
throw-
go right. That's right. What can I buy? A Fumo Vela. I don't know what Fumo is. Fumo Vela plush, and have it follow Eco. Oh, are we talking about Eco still? Eco is someone else who was in the YiiK word. Am I just stupid?
Did you go up? I don't think you went close enough to the rocks to trigger the cutscene.
Oh, there's a okay. See, I was just sort of thinking that was not gonna happen. All right, my bad.
Boat with Legs asks if there's going to be new interior areas. Yeah, there will be.
Yeah, but you're still probably not getting in that bowling alley.
No, it's all new stuff. Like, it's not like there's been a bunch of stuff asked on Discord over the past 2 years about like stuff people want to be able to get into, or these are new ideas. These are a lot of it draws on stuff I wanted to do in the Y2K sequel idea I had that I'm never making. So incorporating some of that.
Hey, there's like a gated area next to the graveyard. Can you ever get to that?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, I've never been able to. Maybe I should level up. I can probably level up by now. Yep. About 3 levels in total. People say grocery store side quest confirmed. Someone says YiiK. Quote unquote never making. Hey, his words. That's what he said.
Here's the thing, like, you
Um,
know, it cost about $300,000 to make Y2K. That's like give or take. To go to somebody and say, "Hey, will you give me $300,000 to make a sequel to a game that has a bunch of YouTube essays about why it's the most offensive and horrible thing to ever exist?" And then they do a social media search where they go to check, you know, what people say about a product. It's a big ask
Yep.
for someone to front that kind of money, and like, it's just it just doesn't seem realistic to me.
Yeah, it doesn't seem realistic now. Maybe things will change in the future, but I don't know.
Probably when YiiK becomes a cult classic.
here's what you do. You just make it.
I
An
see you at the
RPG maker.
35th anniversary, guys.
Yeah.
Just make an RPG maker that's basically free. I don't know. No, I don't personally see that happening, but hey, maybe we'll get surprised one day 10 years from now.
Yeah, but is it as fun if I don't have to pointlessly remake all the features RPG Maker had to begin with? Like,
True.
From the ground up, yeah. Purposely make it just as annoying as it is an RPG Maker.
I mean, honestly, like, I'm really excited to get away from Y2K and to do something different. I mean, you know, I think, you know, me and Brian, we know what we're going to make next, so it's going to be really fun to start talking about that stuff again and be out at the convention circuit showing off a new game. Like, it's been very many years that Y2K has been all we've been known for, especially when I think our range is much bigger than that.
You guys in chat, I wish I were rich as fuck so I could just throw money at the sequel and make it happen. I don't think it
I
works
wish
that
you
way,
would.
really. I mean, you might have to hire some other people. You
Well, I
can only
mean, if-
work on something for so long
if-
before you get burnt out.
yeah, you might have to invest in a lot more game stonks.
If a rich person wanted to give us the money to make Y2K2, we would consider it, but it definitely wouldn't be our next game.
I think that's also one of the things as a creative is getting away from the project for a bit is always good.
Right.
Like, oh, get away from this, get some new
Yeah.
ideas.
Hire
new
Todd
blood
Howard.
moving.
I mean, I think one of the things that really surprised me was like the way me and Brian thought about Y2K and like how we viewed the story is so different than what even people who really like it took away from it, and the things that they fixate on is so interesting to us that it kind of feels like we're not even talking about the thing we made sometimes.
Right.
Seems appropriate somehow, but
Yeah. So like what has been fun about the 1.5 content is sort of like getting to do more Y2K stuff on our own terms that's more in line with our interests now without having to like we're still using the rules of the Y2K universe and we're not going to retcon anything, but being able to approach it with how we think about stories now. And I think the Y2K 1.25 short story is like a good example of what's to come, I think.
Someone asked in chat, or Vince asked in chat, any news on Chroma 4? I think you addressed this last time.
Yeah, I mean, like once Y2K 1.5 is out, we're gonna release the game for free. We're gonna get a couple people together. We're gonna do a quick test of the game, and then we're gonna put it out. But it's gonna all depend on when 1.5 comes out, because we don't want to have too many projects so close together that they sort of drown each other out. So like I realistically see like hopefully April or May for 1.5, and then the Two Brothers Chroma 4 re-release maybe for winter.
And I would also look.
What do you think, Brian? Does that make
that
sense?
sounds about like what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Flash. What does that mean? Is that critical?
Ooh, is the next game you're working on under the Ackk name, or are you going to start a new studio?
We're not talking about our next game yet.
There is no.
Robin
next
said,
game.
"Yeah, I'm super interested."
Yeah,
in
we don't want to talk about the next game too much because then people will be like, well, why did it take you forever to finish that thing?
Well, the problem is, like, if we even suggest that we're working on something, people will take the moment we suggest it as the day we started developing it, and they'll be like, it took you 10 years to make that game, when really it was like, because like when we first talked about Y2K, people basically started using that as the time frame it was developed, but there was a good year from when we conceived of the idea that we didn't actually touch the project because we were...
Right, there's a clear split between the prototype and then what actually is Y2K.
Yeah. Robin says, yeah, I'm super interested in what you guys make in the future. I'm loving Two Brothers so far. You guys have serious talent. I'd love to work with you at some point in the future, but I'd rather make some of these things I have in my mind first. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, at this point in my life, I foresee first, thank you. It's really nice of you to say. I'm glad that you're enjoying Two Brothers. At this point, like, I think for our next project, it's probably going to just be me and Brian.
Like a smaller sort of game.
Yeah, smaller thing, because but at the end of Y2K, it was pretty much just me and Brian for like the last year and a half, and we know that we work well together, and we know how to do all the parts of it now. So it would have been great working at Y2K if we had the level of help that we expected to have,
Right.
but it basically taught us how to make a project of this scope with just two people. And now that we've patched it and gotten better as developers, making something with just the two of us is actually going to be quicker than if we had a team, I think.
Interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, that kind of makes me wonder about some of these bigger studios, like a lot of the AAA stuff. They have these gigantic teams, because it does oftentimes take quite a while. And I don't work in that space. I'm actually just kind of scratching the surface of it now with what I'm doing.
Well, so like I can say it this way, like everyone we worked with on Y2K was a friend of ours before we started making the game, and there was and I've mentioned this before, everybody definitely had less experience than me and Brian, And I think they and us too overestimated what they would be capable of and how much technical knowledge they actually had. So a lot of the development was basically me and Brian trying to guide people and get them to where they needed to be able to actually finish the game. So if we had a team who had been more experienced and knew how to do the things outside of having just taken a few classes in the subject, I think it would have gone a lot faster. And I think a lot of the problems with Y2K are because of that. But at the same time, like, I wouldn't go back and change it because I actually really cherished that time with all those people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even though it was like stressful at times, like it was really nice getting to make this thing with people that we just who they're our friends, and we had a lot of fun working on it. And while there was definitely a lot more teaching than you would expect from when you're paying people, it was ultimately something that I think we're all really proud of because like everyone sort of like got dragged across the finish line in the end.
Yeah, I remember I think you shared a video not too long ago of like kind of when the gang was together, and I can only imagine how good that probably felt, It's sort of like seeing the team realize,
It was like you go.
No, you go ahead. I probably wasn't going to say anything I wanted to say.
No. I talk too much. I want to hear what you have to say about this.
I would say it felt really good finishing the game like just the moment before it came out. And then it became terrifying. And then it became really terrifying.
Yeah. But
yeah, there's like that nice high that you get like right when you finish the project but before the world has to play it. That's great.
Yeah, that's Angel
That's
stock.
really what everyone should strive for.
The only times I can somewhat understand how such a large team works are with developers like Kojima that involve themselves in every single aspect of the game. Yeah.
So like, big studios, they have a pipeline where they have the art director who deals with the artists, and you have the lead programmer who deals with all the programmers. So even though there's 800 people, they all essentially have a boss who's like the core developer on that aspect of the game. And if you're making something like Uncharted or The Last of Us 2, the only way to make something that's that asset rich and visually complex, like those 3D models, to make like the Ellie 3D model, they'll spend like 2 months just working on that one.
Right, they had multiple artists work on just the one character. I believe it was maybe 2 artists, possibly 3 artists who worked on Ellie.
Those are such undertakings. Like compared to like what we do, like where we can 3D, I say we, I mean Brian can 3D model and rig a character in the Y2K style in an afternoon. Like it's still a whole other world of what they're dealing with. That plus the facial motion capture and then cleaning up the motion capture, because one thing most people don't know is motion capture is not just good to go the moment you do it. There's a lot of cleanup you have to do, especially for the facial stuff.
Yeah.
And like, just in terms of running a motion capture studio adds like 20 people to your development team.
Oh, yeah, not to mention all like the choreography and stuff like that. Yeah,
Direct.
like I'm sure the thing is, it's an awesome resource to have for AAA, but it also probably makes your production more rigid. And you probably need a lot more people who know what they're doing to be on top of everything.
Yeah, it's kind of unfathomable for me what that work environment even flows like, Like, I guess you just make stuff and then higher ups look at the stuff and go, yeah, that's good, or no, that sucks, keep working on it. Or, I don't know. I'm only guessing. It's definitely something I used to want to do until I got a little bit more insight into what that environment can be like, though. Especially here lately with some of the bigger studios, kind of like God bless them, CD Projekt Red and EA and studios like that. I think Bethesda too, actually. A lot of crunch, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, you know, they're like I hate to say this because people will probably take it the wrong way, but there really isn't there's no way to do it without crunch
I think
on that scale. It's
Right.
not.
Right. Now, whether or not people should be doing it in the first place is a whole other question entirely.
That is exactly like whether or not it's sustainable to make games as big as, you know, what CD Projekt Red is doing or The Last of Us 2. Like, you know, maybe, but you know, there is an expectation that these things grow exponentially with each iteration. People have very specific demands, and there's a weird business model where review scores are tied to you know, employee bonuses, and you know, like if they're going to use those constraints and hit the expectations that, you know, people have put on it, I just don't see any way it can be done without crunch. Like, I understand that it is a result of mismanagement, that it is absolutely true, but I feel like those things are kind of at odds with each other. The expectations of what the games will be, and
absolutely. And I think people really kind of underestimate like people's expectations and how that affects like actual development a lot.
well, I mean, you know, and then when developers, you know, they put their necks out and they try something different, like Kojima did with Death Stranding, or, you know, for better or worse, what they did with The Last of Us 2. If you're not fulfilling this thing, you have a lot of really upset people. And
Right.
people are very outspoken about how much they don't like the thing you made. And that has real world consequences on the developer. You know, or consequences isn't the right word. It has a real world impact. And I just don't think that the industry business model has caught up with the sort of like psychological strain that it actually has on people.
Yeah.
And I think that we might even see games becoming shorter or being simplified further.
Well, it's kind of a strange thing to turn something like this into a sort of like a corporate business to begin with. I mean, it's artwork. It takes time, you know. And I mean, I do understand deadlines when they come from, I suppose, publishers and whatnot. You know, they are giving you money to make a thing.
Let's back up though to something you just said. You said they are artwork, okay?
Yes.
So I think, of course, I think video games are art. I've famously said this many times. Video games are art. But are they? I don't know if they're consumed like art though, right? Like, yeah, they're consumed like commercial art in the way that we consume Friends and
Movies and TV.
and movies. Yeah, and by Friends I mean the sitcom. But like they're not consumed like art, like a you know, like how you'd look at a painting or how you would read like a Tolstoy novel or something. And I think that there is a certain disconnect where certain developers are very aware that they're making this commercial product, and other developers are trying to do something different, like with a game like Death Stranding, which, you know, you could really easily say it's just a game of that all you do is walk in that game, right? But there's a danger, because if it was art, you'd and it is art, okay? And this is the problem with what I said before. Using their framework that doesn't allow it to really be viewed as art, because it has to be perpetually entertaining, or entertaining in a way that they recognize. It seems to me that that's a disconnect that also needs to be addressed, in the same way that we have the crunch and scope disconnect, that we also have that disconnect between the developers thinking of it as art, and then the consumers, and not all consumers at all, there's plenty who are very reasonable about this stuff, who look at it as something like that exists to satisfy their specific needs, as if it was made for them and only for them, and that the developer's enjoyment or the developer's intentions are almost like irrelevant, which is the very different thing between like what we would classically call art and what the sort of art of video games is consumed as. I hope that made sense.
Yes, and I did want to point out sort of this timely comment: art is not what you see, but what you make others see. I thought that was funny how that just popped
That's
up while we're
pretty good.
talking about this.
That's interesting. I don't know if it's true, but
It kind of.
definitely.
Well, I mean, it goes back to the old, the old saying, art is in the eye of the beholder. So,
So, but with like says, artsy games need to be attractive to more than just artsy audiences to be successful. It's interesting though, because when we think of artsy, like there's a certain there's so much connotation to that word. Like there's like a certain like expectation of like flamboyance or pretentiousness,
right.
like a off-Broadway one-man show or something like. But something like Death Stranding, which I think is a really good example of this, or even The Last of Us 2, like those were two developers, Kojima and Neil Druckmann, who were interested in doing something that was very different than what their audiences wanted from them. And like a lot of people say that I don't think either of those are bad games. Death Stranding is a game I really, really love. I think The Last of Us 2 is really well made, and I think it's a huge accomplishment, but not a story that I particularly like. I think it's very well written. But like in terms of like, my aesthetic and what interests me, like I it's not my thing. But I can respect what they were trying to do and how it was trying to be something so different than from what other games are. But at the same time, because it is commercial art and not art in the traditional sense, it doesn't really matter what the developer's intent was. It's always what the audience reaction is going to be that ultimately matters, I think.
Right.
Unless it sells gangbusters.
Yeah, I think you're right about that too. And that's just, I think that's more of a fact of just how we interact with each other and what we do. If that makes any sense.
So I have a really interesting perspective on this artsy video game kind of thing, and it's what makes it this quote unquote artsy. Like, yeah, we can all ponder the definition of artsy for whatever, but like because video games are a combination of like all media, I feel like people just go, well, it's artsy because of its story direction, or its visuals, or it's whatever, like really kind of basic things. When there are games that challenge mechanics, like the different kinds of like when you think about it, Katamari Damacy is a really artsy game, mechanically speaking.
Yeah.
And it's like, it visually, yes, it is too,
Visually,
but it's
so, yeah.
kind of more commercial, and like, and then the outer game design, other than mechanically, is kind of toned down to be more commercial. Like, hey, this is how these mechanics work in this function, and then that's like a commercial product. So it's like, it's a really weird thing to go, oh, artsy games need to be, marketable, and it's like, well, what is it that makes it artsy?
Yeah, I think probably what they meant was you have to smuggle the art underneath. It's like Fight Club. Like you have to do what Fight Club does.
First word about
Like
art is you
there's
don't talk
so
about art.
Like in order for games to be artsy and be successful, they probably have to smuggle it in some way. Like I think
BioShock Infinite, how it just goes, hey, it's a first-person shooter.
Oh, and then
But
the
then we'll
ending
have
hits
this
you like,
story.
yeah.
Yeah.
You almost have to sneak it in there to get the layman to really see what you're trying to do.
Yeah, you have to give them something that they can recognize, because if it's too original, and by an original, mind you, is not a statement of quality, but if it's too original that people can't really connect with it or understand what it's trying to do, and there's nothing recognizable about it, I think they're less likely to accept artsy mechanics or artsy ideas.
Yeah.
Right, which is kind of the problem that Death Stranding ran into a little bit with a lot of gamers.
Right.
But I think a lot of that is even based on just like video reviews and stuff. I think once you get that game in your hands, you're like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Or you won't, then it's your opinion.
I
They
know
really
I
should've
kind
just
of
told
gave that
people
game
that it was
crap,
free,
like, Sorry, go ahead, Hellkrai. My bad.
Oh, they really should have just told people it was like Stardew Valley for edgy kids. That's all it is.
Well, the thing is, it kind of goes with the problem with hype, right? Because people knew about PT,
Michael.
and then they knew about Death Stranding, and they convinced themselves it was going to be a horror game. And then when it came out, everyone was like, this wasn't a horror game. And it's like, well, but they never said it was. They very specifically kept calling it a Strand game, and they never explained really what that was because they wanted you to uncover it from playing the game.
Right.
But I actually think if Death Stranding had opened up with some shooting, just some very simple shooting, it would have, in the first like 3 hours, I think it probably would have made a lot more people endeared to it. And it wouldn't have been like the thing where people say you have to get to chapter 3 before it gets good. If there had just been that one little thing, but it wasn't the vision. It's not supposed to be a game about a guy who's like a bang bang shoot shoot kind of character.
Quite the opposite,
And-
actually.
And that's kind of the problem, though, because the audience expects this one thing, and especially from Kojima, who makes lots of bang bang shooty characters, that you just kind of expect it.
Yeah.
Bang,
That's something
bang,
I thought was
shooty
weird
characters.
about it too. Is I found myself playing that game more as like a stealth game.
I mean, that's
Like,
kind of what you're
"Oh,
supposed
you
to do.
did it. It's Metal Gear again. I'm having a great time.
That's fair. I just avoided people in that game,
Yeah.
And non-people.
but not like in a stealth way. I'm like, I'm just gonna let those guys over there be themselves.
I said
It's
no
it's
anchovies.
absolutely an interesting game. I definitely can't take that away from it. He had a very unique vision
out for
that he
number
wanted to
one.
share with everybody. And even though I do kind of have my some issues with it, mostly with the naming conventions and not knowing why they are the way they are.
I mean, I could take a guess, right? Think
Go-
about
go
all
ahead.
of Kojima's favorite stuff, right? Like, Dead Man, and
Man.
give me some names. What was another one?
Heartman.
They're like Mega Man characters. They're like
Right.
Ultraman. So like, why do characters have to have original? Why do they have to have names that sound like real people names? Why can't they evoke a feeling that makes them larger than life? And I think that he's trying to control the tone and make you feel a certain way about the character by giving them a name like Heartman. It adds a certain gravitas to them. And just like how, like in a game like Mega Man, Iceman, or whatever a Mega Man character would be called, it has a lot to do with their defining characteristic, and I think Kojima actually used that pretty well.
Right. I think where I kind of maybe got lost in that was the fact that Sam Bridges has like a full name. He's one of the few characters that actually has a full name.
Sam Porter Bridges.
Sorry, Porter. Bridges.
Well, that's something that's interesting about that is Sam's name. His middle name isn't a middle name. That's just his job. It's like
Right, that's
dystopian,
also true.
actually.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil that game, but a lot could be said about his name, actually.
Well, okay, yeah, true. But you don't really get spoiled until, honestly, pretty close to the end.
Yeah,
if
like
I'm
the
not
last
mistaken.
second
Yeah.
of the game or something. You're
Right.
like, oh my
It all
God,
gets
what?
unraveled there. Like you have to play the whole game to get to that point, and yeah, kind of find out what's really going on for the most part.
What really fascinated me about it was how it is the most straightforward Kojima storyline since the first Metal Gear, and everybody. I mean, I remember all the comments when the trailer first came out about how it made no sense and it was just going to be super confusing and avant-garde. But in the end, it's a really, really straightforward story that I think works pretty well.
And somehow people still missed it.
Yeah, but they do though, right? Because they're like, "Oh, Kojima's so confusing." I had somebody on my Facebook who was like, "About to start Death Stranding, can't wait to not understand what's going on for 60 hours." And then they kept like saying, "I don't understand what is happening in this game at all." It's pretty simple. The world has ended, and you need to bring them Amazon packages. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
You need to
I
throw
never-
those Amazon packages at other
Right.
Amazon deliverers.
Keep walking, don't fall over.
I think when people started getting confused about the Kingdom Hearts story and Metal Gear story is like when I really disconnected with people online about video game story.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the way that American fan cultures work, where you're supposed like it all started with Star Trek, the quintessential fandom where you understood every mechanic, you could tell people about every little detail of every race, of every alien species and spaceship. But then when you get to things like Kingdom Hearts, they're not as clear, or they're supposed to be quasi dreamlike, that you can't really have that encyclopedic knowledge in the same way. So I think that because people had been trained to interface with stuff that way, when Kingdom Hearts came around, people just didn't know what to do with the lore.
So you're
Yeah,
you're saying that nerds ruined art.
No, no one. It's not. It's not. It's no one ruined anything. It's just the way it naturally evolved. You
Sorry,
know?
that was totally just me talking.
um,
I know how this has gone in the past. I didn't even think about that. But I definitely kind of see what you're saying there. Though. There's kind of a certain type of fandom that's, I guess you could say, sort of taken over most, like you said, of American fandom. I don't believe it's really that way in at least Japan.
Oh, we're about to
wait.
get to the cut.
Here we go. Here we go.
Oh, Rory, you are so wrong. So wrong.
Can't you see her too? That's my sister. That's Carrie.
Oh shit! It's an entity! We need to get the hell out of here!
What is that?
Wait. We need to remain calm. We need to try and talk to him.
Carrie, I brought some friends. This is Alex, Michael, and Bella. They're gonna help us.
Rory, that isn't your sister. It's...
Shut up! That's Carrie. Can't you feel it? It's so familiar. I can prove it. She understands what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking. I've never been this close to anyone. Trust me, it's her!
Rory, that's not Carrie. Rory, that's you.
These poses are so good.
What? What the hell are you talking about?
That's your soul survivor. Your spirit, your consciousness.
How can that be? I'm right here!
Bella, what the hell is going on? You need to explain this.
Rory, what really happened to your sister? Something about your story doesn't add up. Let me hear the truth. Rory, please. I'm here to help you. Did your sister really vanish?
No. She jumped off the overpass.
Rory, that's terrible.
Yeah, this is being
Why
recorded.
did she do it?
What the hell kind of question is that? It was those bastards at school. Stupid, shitty girls always ragging on her, going out of their way to make her feel bad, picking on her for being my sister. Ugh! This is all my fault. It's all because of me, because of what I'm like. You know?
How did you find this place, Rory? When did you first see your soul survivor?
It was 2 weeks after she died. I found her things. I came down there thinking she fell down or something. I don't know. And then I thought about dying too. I wanted to die. I needed to get away from this world. I needed to find her.
But you knew she was dead, didn't you?
Of course. But
It's okay. You can tell me. I'm not judging anything you say here. Tell me all of it.
I surrendered myself to the ether. To the realm outside of this one. You know what I'm talking about, don't you, Bella?
I do. Go on. What happened when you left your body?
I didn't get far. I separated from my physical
Whoa.
form, and then I saw my body and my sister, which you say is me.
Did you leave the Earth?
I was so close. I was so far away. And then I saw it. The soul survivor. the entity, whatever the hell you called it.
Rory, please listen to me carefully. You left your body when you surrendered yourself to your misery. You abandoned this physical form, and your soul was about to enter the soul space. But what you saw was not your sister. That soul over there is not hers. It is yours. I've traveled the soul space, and I understand what I am seeing when I look at the entities. I see the marks of your soul, and I can tell you that that is another you. Somewhere out there in the soul space, this you left his world and stumbled on yours. That's you from another plane. It's likely it was experiencing the same suffering as you.
What? I don't understand.
Fella, can you please explain what's going on here?
Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. I understand what you were feeling. This depression is unbearable. I can't take it anymore. The depression pain part is an unavoidable reality. But whether or not you can overcome it is up to you. You decide if you're going to keep going. Your sister is gone. There's no changing that. But traveling the soul space is incredibly dangerous, and if you're not careful, you'll end up like him. You can't help but feel the pain, but you can get through the suffering. That will go away. Look, I know it's easy for me to say. I'm not the one whose sister is dead. But you have to understand that I am telling you the true reality of the situation. You're playing with some otherworldly dangers here.
Majora's Mask ass sounding sound.
Damn it! Guys, we need to run!
Fella, will you tell me what the hell is going on? What is all this about?
I think it's a golden alpaca. Damn it, we need to run! Come on, let's get out of here!
Oh, that's great. Yeah, this is a lot better, guys.
Reality after reality, I find a similar scenario. Children playing a game they don't understand.
It speaks.
No matter. As I have time and time again, I will remove your illicit presences. Soul Traveler, I sentence you to soul death. You will reside in this reality no more. This is disgusting. And it is also disappointing. Reality after reality, I find a similar scenario. Children playing a game they don't understand. No matter, as I have time and time again, I will remove your illicit presences. Starting with you, the paralleled one. Interesting. You shouldn't be here either, chance traveler. And you, stitched into reality's fabric for dramatic effect, playing the childhood mate. You don't belong. Perhaps the similarities between this scenario and the others are only surface level. Soul Traveler, I sentence you to soul death. You will reside in this reality no more!
Holy shit.
And now you. How will you justify your continued existence?
Okay.
Ignorant construct.
Okay.
A bit different.
A little bit, yeah. No, that was awesome.
I love
Thank you.
the very ending of that scene.
That whole thing was great. I guess if you guys have it on you or want to share the added lore to the golden alpaca, I think it was kind of obvious from what we saw, but
Yeah, so we call this update Y2K Deviation Perspective 1 Wrong Soul Requiem, because this scene in particular is told from a different perspective. Rather than being told from Alex's perspective, you see it through Vela's perspective, actually. And the Golden Alpaca is a character from a 1970s kaiju film that she saw on a date when she existed in her other reality. So the Golden Alpaca appeared to Alex in the original game in that form, but because Vela has this other experience in this broken reality, the scene plays out this way. Now, without getting too much into spoilers about, actually, I won't go there. You can find out more about the Golden Alpaca character in a short story that I wrote that Brian illustrated that comes with the soundtrack for version 1.25. I wrote some music that exists, that's written for the fictional movie that the Golden Alpaca comes from. And so if you're interested in the character, you can find out more about that, but that's the basic idea.
Yeah, that side story is really interesting. There's a lot of really cool concepts that get brought up in there, and how they apply to YiiK is beautiful.
yeah, that man, I'm only imagining if we had seen more of that in the original release, what kind of response the game would have gotten.
I think it probably would have gotten a better response.
Yeah. No, that was dope though. That was really good. You guys have clearly grown, even from, I guess 2 years ago now.
Well, so, I've talked about this before. The development of the base game was very troubled. We were dealing with our mother's death, dying, or rather, because she died during the process of making the game, but dealing with her illness for, half the project. And then when she died in 2016, basically a week before she died, we got all of our tester information back, and they all just hated the game. They're like, we like the story, we like the music, we like the graphics, we hate everything else. And, when you have people play through a game and do mock reviews and they tell you it's horrible, you gotta adapt and, redo certain aspects of it. And, we had always planned on making cutscenes like this for the most important moments in the game, but because it ended up that Brian and I had to do so much more on the project than we anticipated, and we had spent all of our money at this point, we had to really just rely on the Persona-style portrait cutscenes that we had in the game, because we had a level designer who was supposed to build all of the dungeons, but then they were also supposed to be a 3D modeler, but they didn't know how to do either of those things. So they were delegated to setting up the battles, and then they essentially ended up designing the battle system. So when the version of the game that launched was basically made, we took a break after our mom died because there was no way we were going to work, and we probably took off 4 or 5 months, and then we just we went back to it and we remade basically every dungeon in the game, and we did our best to up the cutscene quality with what we had. But at that point, like, we were working for free. Like, we spent all of our money, and our publisher was really good. Like, there were many times where they gave us, like, you know, a little more funds here and there, but there's a limit to that, you know.
Right.
So
you can only get away with so much money.
Yeah, just like asking, like, hey, we need more money, but like, there's also, like, you want to fulfill your commitment, right? Like, you said you'd make the game for this amount of money, and we wanted to do it, and a lot of it was, you know, a certain amount of like naivete, but
and exhaustion and like a lot of other stuff. But
like, there's this really common thing that I always hear people say, which I think probably originates from a video essay about the game, that like, we had like a meltdown and we changed the game because our mother died, but it's completely wrong. Like, we were told that the game was bad, and we were told that we needed to make the areas smaller and that the dungeons needed to be more engaging. And this came from a lot of people. Like, this was like a tester pool of 50 people, and they were very direct about what was wrong with the game. And like, you have no other choice but to listen to them. Like, you can't be like, no, fuck you, I'm a genius, I'm gonna do it this way, because that's never worked out well for anyone.
Nope.
And
especially when they were right.
They were completely right. Everything they said about the game was true. Like, the areas were too big, the battles were sluggish, but you know what that left us with was like 6 months where, you know, after we took off, like, you know, I say 4 months, it was probably more like 6 months we didn't work. At that point, like, you have to remake all this content, fix the battle mode with what you have, and then we had to port it to the PS4 and get it running on the Nintendo Switch. Like, it was a very small time frame, and like, it was just a series of bad dice rolls. You know, like, it was nobody's fault. I mean, like, people have told us, like, oh, it was your fault, you should have fired all your friends, when you see that they couldn't work fast enough or didn't know how to do certain skills. But like, that wasn't the point of it for us, you know?
Right, and even then, when it comes to a smaller studio, it doesn't really matter that, you know, some people are, you know, need help getting along. Like, that's gonna happen, even for a big studio, you know? You're gonna have people that come in and aren't able to contribute as much as you think that they're able to. And that's just kind of like a business end. It even happens at other industries.
Yeah, and you know, and there was a certain amount of feeling of responsibility to them, because, you know, they all quit their jobs to come work on the game, and like, we promised them, you know, 3 years of guaranteed work, and like, we didn't want to, you know, harm our friendships, and, you know, because like I said, these are people that we love. You know, it was bad business, but like, sometimes you do a different call.
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed, just trying to work with some of my friends on other projects, whether they be streaming or whatever. There are things that just happen in the middle of work that will definitely wedge in between your relationship.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, like, we it was fine. Like, I don't really think it is what it is.
Hey, JT, I'm not gonna try to be a backseat gamer.
Please,
but
by all means.
Don't worry about the Soul Survivor. I want you to do that so you can see his morning attack. But also, I think it's the most effective way to build the scene.
Yeah, so just the strategy is to let him fill the warning bar, and then right before he does it, cast Panda Barrier, and then you'll survive it.
Okay.
Yeah, you could also, if you didn't want to see that, you could also banish him directly, which will cause the warning bar to drain.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could live dangerously.
I just like taking the big hits.
I mean, I've played that way too, if I'm being honest.
Makes it more intense.
I am on easy mode after all, I should be fine.
You just gotta do it. Tank the hits, level 5. That's the way.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering, like, that warning bar is not going up. I think I'm not letting him do his thing. I know there's a little bit more to show off with him too, so I don't really know if that was a health bar thing or what.
Michael!
Alright, eat that soul survivor. You know what? You get a turkey sandwich. Enjoy. Lost in the Void says, I want posters of Brian's work on my walls.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I think we've only ever made posters for conventions. I don't think we've ever sold them just to sell.
I love the New Year's Eve poster.
I'm kind of tempted to just defend for like a whole round, just that way he gets the attack. I think I will.
Yeah, do it if you want.
Yeah, let's see the extent of this work.
Oh.
Actually, I could have just hit pacifism. Damn it.
Brian, what was the intent of the sword design? It looks like two different pieces.
The intent? Yeah, it is supposed to be two different pieces with like some kind of like a rope, like holding them together.
Where'd that come from?
And as for the intent, I was just playing with ideas.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
it's definitely silly. It would not be very like structurally sound, but I also thought it looked kind of cool.
Sometimes, like, it's just about looking interesting.
Yeah. I mean, he already looks like he looks. It's, you know, I figured I could make it look sillier.
Yeah, when we were gonna redesign it, I told Brian I wanted him to feel like a interdimensional furry thirst trap. And I think Brian delivered.
It looks.
That's what I was going for anyway.
It looks like someone started working on one of those like whip swords, but they just kind of like, maybe not.
Yeah, I imagine it can like fold for easy storage.
That's one way to
like
look
when
at
your
it. Yeah.
days of like sorting are behind you, you could put it in your basement like John Wick.
Has anyone here played Guilty Gear?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you know Soul Bad Guy's sword?
The lighter.
Is that what it's called? The flat sword.
I think it literally is a lighter.
I have no idea. It's been so long since I
Wait,
played
which character?
Soul Bad Guy.
So bad.
Soul Fire Guy.
Oh, yeah, but I don't remember what his weapon looks like for some reason.
It's basically just like a flat sword. Oops. Kind of reminds me of that. Like you can maybe flip it over and do that.
There's like a weird straight one, but one of them is a lighter. A junkyard dog Mark III, I think is.
Oh
the
right,
name
yeah,
of
he's
it.
got a bunch of different weapons depending on.
There we go. Okay, do the thing.
At least 2 different weapon designs that I know of.
It's a panda barrier. Sure, we'll
Oh
do
my
that.
god, I never noticed that was a lighter. That's fucking awesome.
Is it really a lighter?
Pardon
Yeah.
my language. Yeah, it's great. It's good. Oh man, what a good idea.
Learn something new every day. I really didn't notice
I
that
love
either.
You know me.
I was too busy fooling around with Axel. That's a really good old fighting game. Older fighting game.
Won't be too old for much longer.
Michael!
The new one coming out, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks good.
I'm definitely getting it. I'm very excited about it.
I'm
I'm
on the
seeing
fence.
some J-Rake love in the.
Here we go.
Yeah, J-Rake is awesome. There's
I always look forward to seeing J-Rake's work.
Whenever we meet up, I'll need to bring the Dojin.
yeah.
Let's put
I
them
really
up
wish-
in the box.
There's one.
J-Rake made 2 of these Y2 Ramhala Dojins, which is like this whole crossover.
Oh, Dojin.
between-
Gosh.
Yeah. They're
I-
pretty good.
I heard that as 2 words.
Michael!
You know, because Doge is a meme now.
They're pretty good. I'm kind of surprised at how they interpreted Michael.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because like how he works in that story is he kind of just tells everybody what is going on, and I love it.
That's pretty funny.
Oh, we killed the great hero Golden Alpaca, or whatever.
We are
he was.
now more new content.
I really like that one of the biggest bosses in the game was given this much personality.
Broken.
You know, the thing is, like, if we were going to remake the scene, I didn't want to just do the same exact, like, because like
Yeah,
there
that
are some
is Golden Alpaca. Go ahead, sorry.
there is some clunkiness to the dialogue in the scene. Like, you know, it's not a perfect scene. It has there's a lot of ways it could have been done better, but we couldn't re-record the dialogue. We couldn't rewrite it. That was completely out of scope for what we were doing.
This is insane.
So
He's a soul survivor.
you know, we did our best to try and use the music and the camera work to add emotional weight to the dialogue, and I think that it kind of showed that the dialogue was at least serviceable if it had, you know, an actual cutscene built around it. And for the new stuff, you know, I wanted it to. So the original intent behind the first Golden Alpaca scene was reality doesn't give a fuck about you.
Right.
Bad things happen, and you know, you could be worrying that your sister has died, or that you know, I'll use an example from my own life, that your mother has cancer, but people are still laughing and there's silly things going on, and it seems like nothing around you actually cares that you have a problem. And that's really what the scene was supposed to be saying. It was supposed to be like showing the, regardless of Rory's having this moment where he's having to come to terms with the fact that his sister's dead, Alex is being a little brat, and you know, Vela and Michael both kind of understand the seriousness of the situation, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, but there's this other thing, and that you don't even get to grieve or think about that stuff because life just moves on. I think that it could have worked. I don't think it worked in the original version of the game. Like, I think it was a bad scene and it needed to be redone. But I wanted to maintain that feeling of the sudden shift. But because it shifts into a serious tone, it feels like very RPG-like. I think it's more palatable for the audience, and I think it gets the same idea across without being jarring.
Yeah, and I think there's a good element, like you guys kind of blend the idea of like this absurdist comedy and kind of horror thing together really well for like scenes like this.
Yeah, I mean, I to me, Y2K is all absurdism. Like, I think the whole thing is supposed to not be taken too seriously. I thought it might be okay. So when I wrote Alex, like I wrote it for him to be talking like it was a noir story, and that's how I was going to do the narration. But you know, I didn't direct the voice acting, and when I saw what the cast was doing, I really liked the direction of it. But the intent I had in my head was that it was supposed to feel like this super serious noir, and really lean into the fact that Alex has convinced himself he's like some sort of big internet detective going to save this mysterious woman. And I think that it probably would have been more obvious that it was absurdism had it been played that way, but I loved the way that they chose to do it, and you know, for me, that's what Y2K actually is now. It's not the idea that was in my head when I was first typing it.
Yeah, I know we've talked about Y2K being like really easily marketable, like to be like a franchise. Really funny to have like a detective noir Y2K related thing.
I remember seeing some, I guess, potential concept art of the sequel, and it was someone who looked like Bella, basically looking like a detective. So I don't know how valid that is or not. I just remember seeing it pop up.
It's okay.
So I'm trying to think about what it was that you would have seen.
Let's get out of this.
It was a long time ago. It was just like
yeah,
some bit of artwork.
We had character models for a sequel. Like we were playing with some art styles. Like we had a whole storyline outlined for it. And like I'm using some of those ideas in Y2K 1.5 now. Because I don't, like I said, I don't think we're gonna do a sequel.
So I think I'm right about this, but the angel figure at the intro screen, was that golden alpaca?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, I figured.
This creature has no feelings, no desires.
Go
ahead, sorry.
Leg says, how do you feel about the tone in the Last Night I Dreamt I Saw Her trailer in respect to all of this? I actually think that that trailer was really great. I really love Josh. What is Josh's last name? Joshua Caller. He does a lot of indie game trailers, and I think he knocked it out of the park with that one. Like, you know, I explained to him that it's supposed to feel a little bit like a delusional detective story, and I think that he really captured that feeling in that trailer.
Just a heads up for everyone watching, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up soon, so like next save spot probably. But I was told just now actually that there is an extension on the sewer dungeon, and I think we might go ahead and pick up on that next time when we start as sort of like a, how do I put it?
So
a hook.
I want to answer the question here about this happening in the wrong order. So
I hadn't spoken with Rory since that night either. As soon as we got out,
it's supposed to be
soul survivors and metaphysics.
So, you know, Alex is telling the player the story. Alex is in control of it. Alex is not ready to show you what happened.
Okay. Since a soul survivor has spent a lot of time down here,
he's embarrassed by it. He's ashamed by it. So he's doing everything in his power to not really get to that point. He doesn't want to show the thing that happens with Rory at the end here. Even though in the moment he feels justified, now he doesn't quite feel as confident about it at this point of him talking and doing the narration. So it's less that it's happening like in the wrong order. It's that he's very much in control of what you see. Even though he's trying to be honest with the player, he still won't let his ego show you the story as it really happened. And that's what that out of order thing is about.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
kind of like admitting to a wrong later. That makes sense.
Right. So he's like, oh, I listened to some music and you know, my days were kind of weird, and like it felt, you know, because he's talking in Murakami-isms there. Like that whole thing is like a, you know, like a very obvious allusion to Murakami, and like how he describes like his books tend to have these large passages where nothing happens to characters, and they just talk about eating food and listening to music. And, you know, Alex always goes back to this thing where he's a character in a story and he acts as if he's the main character in life. So that's supposed to sort of draw attention to the fact that he's thinking about his life that way. And it allows him to forget a little bit about what happens next.
Yeah, I think when you start considering that along with other details in the story, you get into real fun conversations where you're like, maybe they never actually fought a golden alpaca. Maybe that was something Alex just came up with to like excuse his behavior towards Rory later, you know?
Like, remember that everything you're seeing is controlled by Alex. He is the one telling you the story. This is how he wants you to think about him. So even though you're seeing him act like a jerk, you're seeing his interpretation of it.
Yeah, and that's especially why it cuts in with the scene of him recollecting and berating himself for saying these things. It's not because in that moment he's growing as a person,
right?
Reflecting on it. It's later, hey, look, I know I was awful. I get that now.
Told you Hellkrai had a lot to say about this game.
So yeah, Bo is pointing out how like people wrote it off as an error or whatever. I mean that's just you're gonna see it as an error if you go into it being told this is like the worst thing ever made, right? Like, and that it's lazy and that this part of the game is really stupid. And look, I agree with everyone who said the Golden Alpaca scene needed to be redone. It was not great. It needed to be reworked. But there is a certain amount of, if you already have that opinion about something, you're going to interpret things as flaws and maybe be less willing to dig into them and ask why they're doing something, especially if you've been told that the story throws away plot lines. And because I know that's a very common claim about the game, that the game just has these plot threads it does nothing with. But I actually think that most of them are actually covered quite well in the game. But if you're looking at this type of thing as a mistake, you might not see what the point of it was. And I don't blame people for that. It's just that it was the context of the meme that what happened to us, like what happened to the game. People had no other choice but to feel that way about it when they played it, because it's just the nature of how people talk and engage with media now. And like, I don't think it makes people, bad people or stupid, or it doesn't offend me. I mean, obviously I don't love it, but at the end of the day, like it's just how it played out.
Oh, this is the extra stuff. I was going to ask a question real quick, actually.
Sure.
You did say that all this is being controlled by Alex. Does that apply here as well?
Most certainly, yeah.
Okay, so even this bit where we're seeing it from Bella's perspective?
The question,
I had to ask that.
Which Alex? Yes.
Say that again, Hellkrai?
The real question is, which Alex is telling you this?
That is a very good question, because
Alex.
there are many Alexes in the Y2K story. Yeah, think about how the Golden Alpaca dialogue repeats. He says the same thing twice. First time he's referring to the paralleled one. He's talking about Rory. So the idea of the Golden Alpaca is, if there is a person who is in a room with an illegal copy of themselves, basically a soul survivor, the Golden Alpaca wants to restore order to nature by making it so only one soul exists in one reality. Because he sees this as a crime against the fundamentals of everything. So something happens, though, when he goes to take out
Alex,
right, but then something happens where Alex goes to a green screen, and you see the throne of the king and queen, and you see allusions to camera equipment, and the music is called an edit as decreed by the king and queen. And if you look at that all together, somebody has reworked the scene so it's less about Rory and it's more about the egocentric protagonist of the game.
Right.
So even though it's from Vela's perspective, it's still we would still be seeing the scenario as controlled by the ultimate ego that sort of like permeates throughout the game.
That's really interesting, especially given the fact that, basically Alex's ego is sort of a big reason a lot of stuff happens in these realities, / why they all get decimated.
Right.
So, kind of does paint him as the most main of main characters, if you will.
Well, I mean, I guess you would have to ask yourself, like, does I've used this example before, and actually I'm Jay, this is gonna open up a whole can of worms. I declined to comment.
Okay, that's fine. We'll save it for next time. I am gonna go ahead and sign off here, everybody. I really appreciate all 17 of you for tuning in, and we had more earlier too, so really, truly, I do appreciate it. We're gonna try to keep Tuesdays around 7, and we are gonna get through the rest of this game and talk about it and everything in it and around it. It's gonna be a good time, I think. So, and then after that, I don't know. I don't know. I'm probably gonna go back to streaming whatever comes to mind. But yeah. Till next time, I really appreciate everybody.
Thanks for having us. Thanks to
thanks
everyone.
for having us.